Do you understand what claim to be a U.S. citizen means? Do you understand what claim to be a U.S. citizen means?
To state you are a U.S. citizen. To state you are a U.S. citizen.
What does claim mean? What does claim mean?
To say something is true. To say something is true.
Do you understand what vote means? Do you understand what vote means?
To elect new leaders. To elect new leaders.
What does register mean? What does register mean?
To sign up. To sign up.
What does O mean? What does O mean?
To have a debt. To have a debt.
Do you know what it means to owe taxes? Do you know what it means to owe taxes?
To owe the government money. To owe the government money.
Can you explain what non-resident alien is? Can you explain what non-resident alien is?
A person who has not passed the green card test. A person who has not passed the green card test.
What does overdue mean? What does overdue mean?
Past a deadline. Past a deadline.
Do you know what totalitarian party means? Do you know what totalitarian party means?
Government controls everything and people have no power. Government controls everything and people have no power.
What does Communist Party mean? What does Communist Party mean?
Like China, North Korea. Like China, North Korea.
What does advocate mean? What does advocate mean?
To support. To support.
Can you explain what kidnap means? Can you explain what kidnap means?
To take someone away illegally. To take someone away illegally.
Do you understand what overthrow means? Do you understand what overthrow means?
To remove a government from power. To remove a government from power.
What does hijack mean? What does hijack mean?
To stop and steal a moving airplane. To stop and steal a moving airplane.
What does assassination mean? What does assassination mean?
An action of killing someone. An action of killing someone.
What does incite mean? What does incite mean?
To encourage. To encourage.
Do you know what sabotage means? Do you know what sabotage means?
To destroy something. To destroy something.
Do you know what torture is? Do you know what torture is?
To hurt someone physically. To hurt someone physically.
What does national origin mean? What does national origin mean?
Where a person is from. Where a person is from.
Can you explain what genocide is? Can you explain what genocide is?
To kill a whole race. To kill a whole race.
What does police unit mean? What does police unit mean?
A group protects community. A group protects community.
What is a military unit? What is a military unit?
A group works for government. A group works for government.
What does vigilante unit mean? What does vigilante unit mean?
A group acts like the police but are not the police. A group acts like the police but are not the police.
Can you explain what paramilitary unit means? Can you explain what paramilitary unit means?
Like a military group but is not official. Like a military group but is not official.
What does guerrilla group mean? What does guerrilla group mean?
A group uses weapons to attack the government. A group uses weapons to attack the government.
Do you know what a self-defense unit is? Do you know what a self-defense unit is?
A group protects a place. A group protects a place.
Do you understand what rebel group means? Do you understand what rebel group means?
A group fights a government. A group fights a government.
Do you know what prison means? Do you know what prison means?
A place where prisoners are kept. A place where prisoners are kept.
Can you explain what detained means? Can you explain what detained means?
Held in custody by police. Held in custody by police.
Can you explain what prison camp is? Can you explain what prison camp is?
A place to keep enemy soldiers. A place to keep enemy soldiers.
What does jail mean? What does jail mean?
A place where prisoners are kept. A place where prisoners are kept.
Can you explain what labor camp is? Can you explain what labor camp is?
A place to force people to work. A place to force people to work.
What is detention facility? What is detention facility?
A place where people are forced to stay. A place where people are forced to stay.
What does threaten mean? What does threaten mean?
To warn, to hurt someone. To warn, to hurt someone.
What does weapon mean? What does weapon mean?
Like a knife or gun. Like a knife or gun.
Do you know what paramilitary training is? Do you know what paramilitary training is?
Learning to fight in combat. Learning to fight in combat.
Can you explain what weapons training is? Can you explain what weapons training is?
To learn how to use a gun. To learn how to use a gun.
What is military type training? What is military type training?
Learning to fight in combat. Learning to fight in combat.
Do you know what enlist means? Do you know what enlist means?
To sign up in the armed forces. To sign up in the armed forces.
What does hostilities mean? What does hostilities mean?
Fighting in a war. Fighting in a war.
What does recruit mean? What does recruit mean?
To ask. To ask.
Can you explain what commit a crime is? Can you explain what commit a crime is?
To do something that breaks the law. To do something that breaks the law.
What does conscript mean? What does conscript mean?
To require someone to join the army. To require someone to join the army.
Can you explain what offense means? Can you explain what offense means?
A minor crime. A minor crime.
Can you explain what cited means? Can you explain what cited means?
Given a ticket by police. Given a ticket by police.
Do you understand what crime is? Do you understand what crime is?
An action that breaks the law. An action that breaks the law.
Do you know what charged means? Do you know what charged means?
Police tell you that you did something illegal. Police tell you that you did something illegal.
Do you know what arrested means? Do you know what arrested means?
Handcuffed by the police. Handcuffed by the police.
What does confined mean? What does confined mean?
To be kept in a place. To be kept in a place.
Can you explain what probation is? Can you explain what probation is?
You report to an officer regularly instead of jail time. You report to an officer regularly instead of jail time.
What does suspended sentence mean? What does suspended sentence mean?
Delaying of a sentence. Delaying of a sentence.
What is parole? What is parole?
The early release of a prisoner. The early release of a prisoner.
Do you know what prostitute means? Do you know what prostitute means?
Someone who has sex for money. Someone who has sex for money.
What does manufacture mean? What does manufacture mean?
To make something. To make something.
Do you understand what procure is? Do you understand what procure is?
To find someone for sex. To find someone for sex.
What does distribute mean? What does distribute mean?
To supply something. To supply something.
Do you understand what smuggle is? Do you understand what smuggle is?
To take things to a country illegally. To take things to a country illegally.
What does it mean to cultivate? What does it mean to cultivate?
To grow plants. To grow plants.
Do you know what produce means? Do you know what produce means?
To make something. To make something.
What does controlled substances mean? What does controlled substances mean?
You can buy it with a prescription, but with restrictions. You can buy it with a prescription, but with restrictions.
What does dispense mean? What does dispense mean?
To supply something. To supply something.
Do you know what drug paraphernalia is? Do you know what drug paraphernalia is?
Equipment to make illegal drugs. Equipment to make illegal drugs.
Can you explain what illegal drugs or narcotics means? Can you explain what illegal drugs or narcotics means?
Like heroin or cocaine. Like heroin or cocaine.
Do you know what gamble means? Do you know what gamble means?
To play a game for money. To play a game for money.
What does immigration benefit mean? What does immigration benefit mean?
Things like a visa, green card, or citizenship. Things like a visa, green card, or citizenship.
Can you explain what pay alimony is? Can you explain what pay alimony is?
To pay money to ex-spouse after a divorce. To pay money to ex-spouse after a divorce.
What does misrepresentation mean? What does misrepresentation mean?
To lie or give wrong information. To lie or give wrong information.
What does dependent mean? What does dependent mean?
Someone who relies on another person. Someone who relies on another person.
What does false mean? What does false mean?
Not true. Not true.
Can you explain what public benefit means? Can you explain what public benefit means?
Welfare, like food stamps. Welfare, like food stamps.
What does misleading mean? What does misleading mean?
Giving the wrong idea. Giving the wrong idea.
What does lie mean? What does lie mean?
To say something that is not true. To say something that is not true.
Can you explain what fraudulent means? Can you explain what fraudulent means?
To claim something that is not true. To claim something that is not true.
What does rescission mean? What does rescission mean?
To take back a decision. To take back a decision.
Can you explain what deport means? Can you explain what deport means?
To force a person to leave a country. To force a person to leave a country.
Do you know what admission into the United States is? Do you know what admission into the United States is?
The right to enter the United States. The right to enter the United States.
Do you know what deportation proceedings means? Do you know what deportation proceedings means?
Process of removing a person. Process of removing a person.
Do you understand what drafted is? Do you understand what drafted is?
Being selected as a soldier. Being selected as a soldier.
Can you explain what selective service is? Can you explain what selective service is?
Services in armed forces under law. Services in armed forces under law.
Do you know what U.S. Armed Forces means? Do you know what U.S. Armed Forces means?
U.S. military, Navy, Air Force. U.S. military, Navy, Air Force.
What does avoid being drafted mean? What does avoid being drafted mean?
To prevent being selected as a soldier. To prevent being selected as a soldier.
Do you understand what order of nobility is? Do you understand what order of nobility is?
Like king or queen. Like king or queen.
Do you know what constitution is? Do you know what constitution is?
It is the supreme law of the land. It is the supreme law of the land.
What is hereditary title? What is hereditary title?
A royal title, like prince or princess. A royal title, like prince or princess.
Do you understand what oath of allegiance means? Do you understand what oath of allegiance means?
A promise to be loyal to the United States. A promise to be loyal to the United States.
Can you explain what non-combatant services means? Can you explain what non-combatant services means?
Services that do not involve combat. Services that do not involve combat.
What does the form of government of the United States mean? What does the form of government of the United States mean?
Republic. Republic.
Can you explain what civilian means? Can you explain what civilian means?
A person who is not in the military. A person who is not in the military.
What does bear arms mean? What does bear arms mean?
To own or use a gun. To own or use a gun.
What does civilian direction mean? What does civilian direction mean?
A direction from a person who is not in the military. A direction from a person who is not in the military.
What is work of national importance? What is work of national importance?
Tasks that are important to a nation. Tasks that are important to a nation.